people. I'm going to take a stab at trying to present this in chunks. Considering my living situation, meaning I'm currently in the back of my truck in a parking lot, we'll see how this goes. I'm going to try and chunk it down because, well, there's an awful lot to go into. Now, one of the things that this is here to show you is that we're not meeting the minimum requirements to be a human in this reality. And you'll begin to get some sense of that as I progress through this. The evil that's here dictates much of this to us, and it's an unwritten thing. Because to the degree that we don't work on and do things differently, relevant to what I'm about to show you, which is basically going to incorporate incorporeal components of the human being that are as real as your heart, lungs, liver, and kidneys. And I'm going to show you all of these things with a visual, somewhat of a visual representation, but not much, because again, this is somewhat limited in its functionality, so that people begin to see with their eyes the things that I've been talking about all this non-physical stuff. So one of the theories that I've pushed forth is that, well, others have too, is that we were an engineered biological slave race. And the evidence of that is writ throughout the human engineering, to the degree that you've ever looked at that and then contemplated that. It's writ throughout the Anunnaki stories that we have that tell us that they engineered us something, well, some things, a group of some things. We don't necessarily know what they are. For some reason, that's been, they've wanted to keep that some ancient Chinese fucking secret. For some reason, it's like everything about this just sucks. So the Anunnaki stories tell us an awful lot that the Bible does not. Strangely enough, though, there are traces of what the Anunnaki stories, the stories in the Nag Hammadi library and the supplement books, there are traces of what is said in the Bible that are reminiscent of many of these ancient Sumerian stories. So another reason why I think that we were an engineered biological slave race is that we have 7,000 years of human slavery upon this earth. There's no two ways about it. It hasn't been everybody enslaved all the time, but slavery has been with us for at least 7,000 years since the origins of our Sumerian record keeping and historical records. Humans have known slavery. Slavery was given to us. It has been a part of our experience in life as a collective. And I would engineer that, well, part of the design was for us to be slaves. Therefore, it only makes sense that slavery on this planet for the last 7,000 years of recorded history would be something that would be fairly prevalent upon the earth. Another thing that lends itself to being engineered biological slaves, there are 4 absolutes of human existence. 4. That's it. 4. And when you look at what those 4 are, pain, suffering, death, and learning. And when you think about it, no human alive, up to and including Buddha, up to and including Jesus, anybody that people would think were bodhisattva level, whatever. Everyone who has ever walked this earth knows pain, suffering, has known pain and suffering for sure. Death, obviously, because they're not here, and learning. No human has ever escaped those 4. And I firmly believe that these 3 are used as a mechanism to control, to do an awful lot of things that you would do to slaves. When you consider from the perspective of, let's say you as a human, you were a geneticist, a biologist, and you had all the knowledge. And you're like, I want to make a little slave for myself because I got so much to do. I want to make a little slave. And the only way that you could actually pull that off was to start with the only code that you knew actually worked. And that was your own. And then you would have to shut off everything that you did not want to be part of what your slave was. You would have to go into your genetics under the microscope, if you will, or through hormones or whatever ways in which they limit, restrict, inhibit the things that are contained within the genetic code. We're told made in the likeness and image of. when you look at the Anunnaki stories and realize how advanced they were, well, it makes sense that they would want to turn off an awful lot of stuff in a race of beings that was created to be biological slaves. Now, when you think of junk DNA, well, that's certainly something that they have wanted us to believe, because I don't think they wanted us to even know, even if there was nothing we could immediately do about it. I don't think they wanted us to actually know that we had advanced DNA within us, because we're capable of figuring it out. Not necessarily me or you, but humans are capable of figuring out what that actually implies and maybe figuring out a way to turn some of it on. When you start turning on aspects of the genetic code within the slave race that the creators of the slaves did not intend, well, it starts to create problems. When you think of us from the perspective of a race that was engineered to be a biological slave race that had very specific purposes, like the black ones were engineered and built with a certain amount of this, that, and the other to do this, that, and the other. The Indian ones were built for this, that, and the other. The Asian ones were built for this, that, and the other. The Europeans were built for this, that, and the other. The South Americans were built for this, that, and the other. The little Indian peoples were built for this, that, and the other. And you can see that within the various groups of us, there's varying levels of basically everything. Intelligence, perception, what other types of things? Just the difference between the second world and the third world and the first world. The differences between, the tribes in Africa versus your average Western world person. There are differences. There are specific differences. Anyway, I think it lends itself to the fact that they needed different slaves to do different tasks, so they were engineered in the best ways to accomplish the task that the designers of the engineered slave race intended. And then once they left and got from us what they wanted, I think they've left their half-breed children that they were never supposed to create here to lord over us. And when you start getting into the level of psychopathy and megalomaniacal control all through this world, into the realm of the Bible, the spiritual, this is the type of environment that you would create for slaves. Now, another thing is that we have no senses to perceive the incorporeal realm. Well, if I was making a slave, why would they need it? Why would they need it? And if I was making a slave, why would I need their eyes to be super advanced, their hearing to be at the level that mine was? No, I would want to limit them down to basically the rudimentary olfactory senses, I guess you could say, that they would need to simply function. The 5, taste, smell, touch, hearing, and sight. Being able to do the basics. Also, we were born blank and very programmable. You would probably do that to a slave race. You probably would. You would probably make them blank so that you could put in their heads the information that you wanted to go into their head according to the design purpose, and then begin to give them the information so you make their minds very programmable, the theta state, and I'm sure they knew how to induce the theta state even into adults way back then so that they could continue to further program us. When you consider the slave race, they would use pain and suffering and the fear of death as a mechanism to control the entire race. And then other things like the inward journey. See, the inward journey is what you do when you want to go in and clean the inner house, when you want to go in and do the shadow work, when you want to go in and clear out the baggage that you've been carrying, when you want to go in and do inner healing, when you want to go in. The inward journey has effectively been firewalled off for us, and our lives were shortened. They didn't intend for us to ever really fix ourselves or heal ourselves. They intended to be able to damage us to whatever degree they wanted to, and then we die in such short times anyway. Our lifespans are so short it wouldn't really matter. Think about that. We also have little to no instinct or instinctual understandings of virtually anything. We can see some instinctual stuff with the fight or flight response and a few other very basic things, but it seems to me that our instinct was all but removed in lieu of higher faculties, and that would be probably they wanted to be able to teach us things. Well, since they left and these tyrannical pieces of shit that are running the world have been here for as long as they have. They figured out how to inject themselves into the developmental processes of the human being, to inject traumas and all kinds of really fucked up things, so that the higher faculties that you were engineered to have, you'd never actually get there, because you would be girded with so many traumas and abuses during the 3 fundamental stages of human development that take you into adulthood, that will essentially formulate and mold you to be what it is that you're going to be. And short of any very specific work that you do once you become an adult, but, assuming you have the awareness creep through your mind that you actually have to heal yourself from the damage that was inflicted upon you. It's crazy, 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 crazy. When you start to consider how short our lifespans are how do I say this? When you start to consider the things like mind, mastery of mind, emotions, mastery of emotions, psychology, having an ironclad psychology because inwardly you were all balanced and stuff. Mastery of all of the virtues, self-discipline, self-control. To master a lot of the components of us takes, for some people, the journey of a lifetime. For some people, it's the journey of a decade. For some people, it's the journey of several years. It just depends on what it is, who you are, and how you're made up. But to truly master all of the non-physical components of us, to a point where, and not only the non-physical, then mastery of the physical body, and figuring out what you can do with that. The way the Asians and Indians in certain areas have mastered certain aspects of either mind and body. These are lifelong journeys. So they know that we'll never live long enough to master all of ourselves. They know that we'll never live long enough to truly know enough, because we've been alive and we've seen, so we know. They know that by shortening our lives, most people would never be able to figure out the game that's being run on us. That's why they shortened our lifespans. And they shortened our lifespans back in the Epic of Gilgamesh. When you read the stories there, that was the son of Enki, who is the original genetic architect, I guess. The son of Enki, who was supposedly a half-breed, I think, that was doing his own genetically modifying of humans, his own genetic engineering programs in the days of Babylon. So when you start looking at just these things and considering the slave race narrative, if you will, I think there's an awful lot of evidence for this. 5 limited and foolable senses. Yep. Pain, suffering, and death. Did I go over this? Oh, another thing for slaves. You have to pay to live on the planet that you were born on. That's just the way it is. You have to pay to live on the planet that you were born on. Now, if you were going to engineer a slave race, or a slave at all, biological slave, you would probably relegate its consciousness down to, the paltry 5% that we have been given. And then the rest of the mind that it had to have would be the subconscious mind. That's the 95%, and we don't have access to it. We weren't given the table of, we weren't given instructions. We weren't given directions. We weren't given an instinctual or innate or just an innate knowing of how to go into the subconscious mind. Something didn't want us to go in there. We've been cut off spiritually. Basically, everybody. I think personally, many people that claim that they've got spiritual connections to their guides. And I think many of these people are rooted in ego, convinced that they're more spiritually advanced or more spiritually tuned in than they actually are. Many of them want to sell you things, and they just keep pushing that charade. I don't think that there's as many people out there that claim to be, I heard from my guides and God spoke to me, or this. I think most of the people out there that purport that are charlatans, are full of shit. It's just what I think. I can't say that it's true. It's just something inside of me that tells me many of these people are true. I don't think anybody hears from fucking God. I don't think anybody hears from a spirit they're guides. I don't think any of that stuff exists. I think these people are connecting with some demonic force or some negative force that's playing a part. And people don't have enough understanding, let alone the ability to discern those realms. I mean, think about it. You have these channelers. You have no idea what you're channeling. You have an encounter, something tells you that it's a good thing and its name is Iwas or whatever, and let me channel, or, channel me. And then you just have no idea. People have no idea. We have no ability to discern these incorporeal realms. Another thing you would do to a biological slave race is that you would give them the concept of God to drive them to their knees. Rather than just tell them, we're your creators, we engineered you to be a slave race, blah, 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 so that they know. See, because we have the capacity for intelligence, they can't tell us the truth. Because all the truths that, for instance, tie to questions that I've been asking are the types of questions that they don't want us to know the answer to, because they know we're intelligent enough to see what they've been doing to us. I think that really applies. I think that we are given the concept of God to drive us into a fear-based state. God's going to send you to hell. God's going to fucking do all these horrible things. He's going to let the devil devour your soul. And if you don't worship the God, you're going to go to hellfire and burn because you didn't believe in me and worship me. Like, what kind of sick, twisted fucking reality is that? What kind of sick, twisted fucking thing is that to put into the minds of the entirety of the species, in as much as they've been able to? And what the fuck does it mean when nothing out there that we would consider to be good has come to say, hey, humans, you've all been deceived. Here's the truth. Now start spreading this amongst yourself. And you can find that it's identifiable and verifiable because of this, and this. That what I'm telling you is the truth, in lieu of the lies that we've all been given. Like I said, our instincts have been removed, most of them. Hang on a second. I can't pause this doing this way. Another thing, we have no inherent knowledge of how this reality operates or how we interact with the reality itself. Excuse me. The whole concept of the law of attraction, the whole idea of us being energy-based beings interacting with the universe, interacting with the field, interacting with the environment that we were put in from an energetic perspective. We literally were not imbued with any inherent knowledge of that. We weren't given any inherent understandings, instinctual levels of understandings, so that we wouldn't be bumping around in the goddamn darkness down here. And I think that this was all purposely not given to us or imbued into us, or we haven't been exposed to it, because we were built to be a slave race. And these are not the types of things that you give to slaves. I think there's something to that. And no spiritual protection at all. I don't think most of us have spiritual protection. I really don't. I know that I don't. I don't think I ever have. When I consider what my childhood was, when I consider what my adolescence was, it was the most horrible shit show you could fucking imagine. It doesn't allude to any type of spirit guide. It doesn't allude to any type of guardian angel. It doesn't allude to any type of spiritual protector of us. And then when you look out upon the world to the degree that you have done things to figure these things out for yourself and realize how many other children upon this earth for thousands of years, the ones alive now, you know, your grandparents who were once children, you know, your parents who were once children, you and your own childhood, how many children upon this earth take it on the chin in ways that should not happen to children because it prevents the proper development and growth of the mind, the emotions, the psychology, the perspective of themselves, their self-image, and all this other shit, all this damage that is being heaped upon the entirety of the human race, because it's like something willfully is trying to hold us back. In fact, it's actually harming us in order to create that environment where we can't grow beyond what it wants or what it's allowing. And if you try to, it's going to harm you. It's going to damage you. It's going to damage your life. It's going to damage you. And I've experienced that. I'm literally living in the fucking suck of something imposing that upon me. There's been no spiritual protection. There's been no spiritual guidance. There's been no spiritual anything that's come and given me some answers, told me what I could do to protect myself. You know, nothing. None of the shit that we believe is there any evidence for at all whatsoever. If nothing else, I haven't been able to see it or witness it, not even in the slightest little bit. And when you consider the fact that I went to Peru, I drank ayahuasca 100 times. I drank San Pedro about 25 times. I've been out of my body more than a dozen times. And I've encountered other life forms. I've encountered aliens. You know, I've encountered other intelligences. So my mind is pretty open, you know, to the things that can go on out there, and open to a lot of the quote unquote wild and crazy stuff because I have directly experienced it. And there's nothing about this that I think is good for us. I think everything else out there has a vested interest in lying to us, deceiving us, manipulating us, confounding us. And when you can see that we've advanced technologically, we've advanced in certain ways that are really proving to be toxic to the human species before we've advanced with knowledge of self, before we advanced with knowledge of morality, before we've advanced with a basic understanding of what war gets us and chose to no longer go to war with each other because, well, we know what that gets us after, how many thousands of years of being run through these same cycles. Humans, something is playing us like puppets. We were engineered for reasons that defy the narrative that most people have been given. God loves you and created you out of his, bosom and molded you out of clay, and he just wants you to grow and evolve, and, your guardian angels are no, it's none of that stuff. It's been the biggest fucking lie. And when you start tracing this stuff back to its roots and looking at the very religions that have been doing this to us, you start to realize that these religions tie back to satanic, Luciferian, Saturnian, which is archetypally Satan, really dark agendas that have been allowed to continuously unfold upon this earth. There has been no spirit helpers, spirit protectors, there's been no good aliens, there's been no gods that have ever come and helped us with, and I'm talking about with information. When I say that, I'm never referring to come and fix our problems per se, unless it's something that like an alien race did to us, and there's no way we possibly could. We might need some help in that way. But other than that, the things I'm talking about are just simply giving us the information that they know that we don't have, that they know is the reason we're being taken advantage of, that they know that the ones that are taking advantage of all of us know so much more about us than we know about ourselves. You'd think there'd be something out there that would be willing to help with information, but it doesn't. And when you think of the things to the degree that you've researched this and tried to learn about this stuff, there's rules that the good, quote unquote, good has to follow, and they won't interfere. Yet the evil can come and go balls deep in our life, rape our lives, rape our minds, rape our, just all the stuff that evil can do, suffer no consequences for what it does, fear no retribution from us, fear no retribution from God, fear no consequences in the afterlife. There's no fear from the evil, and it does whatever the fuck it wants to do, and it doesn't make any apologies for it. Yet the good, in whatever context people believe that exists, doesn't do a fucking thing. And we don't know what the magic words are to get the quote-unquote good to come and help us, assist us, give us information, teach us. We're down here blind and ignorant as the day is fucking long, and everything else out there that is conscious and knows this. And nothing comes, really, nothing offers assistance with as much attention as we get as a species. Nothing offers support. Nothing offers to come and help. And when I say that, I mean with information that we would need that would help us to balance the scales, tip the scales in our, or something. I'm talking mere basics of information. I'm not asking for them to give us technologies. I'm not asking for them to fix our problems. I'm not asking them to fight our battles. I'm not asking for, but it feels like you almost have to beg to get anything from the spirit world if there's anything out there actually that's good at all. And it's not just something that we all believe because we want to believe that there are good spirits out there. But when you start to think about it, to the degree that you've done the work to come to figure this out, or grab pieces of things that tell you things aren't what we've been told, the first generation dicyanin coded red spectrum infrared that was given to the U.S. military in Vietnam, everything they reported seeing, was demonic. They never reported seeing any angels or benevolent beings or anything like that. They reported seeing demons. And that came from, supposedly, many different people, door gunners, pilots, whatever. So I don't personally think that there's any good spirits out there just waiting in the wings for us to cry out, please help me, or whatever things that, people would do, or I just don't think that that's the case. So I think I've covered everything here. I mean, the 5% conscious mind, I'm going to cover that in another one. The spiritually cut off. Let's just dig in there real quick. What did I put here? Spiritually cut off, zero senses to perceive the incorporeal world, no inherent knowledge or instinct of how to tap in to ourselves, to the etheric, to the astral. We don't have any of this inherent knowledge. And it requires a lot of work to do. First, you have to be exposed to it. Then you have to learn about it. Then you have to get good at it. Then you have to get good at it and practice it. And it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. It requires a lot of work to learn about this stuff. And with the willful fluoridation of us that calcifies the pineal gland, as I said, nothing has intervened. You know, there's been so many things that have happened to the human species where it was going to have and did have a profound effect on all of us. And it was happening at a place and space from a place where we had no idea, no knowledge. And that means the masses. Therefore, what knew about this was the evil people. What knew about this was the evil overlords. And if the evil overlords that are in power know about this stuff and they're doing this stuff behind the scenes, and none of us that are being good little slaves are aware of this, well, in all that spiritual beliefy stuff that we have, you'd think that the God or some spiritual protectors would come and maybe thwart their efforts. I mean, hey, we do have some stories, and I don't know if they're true, that aliens came in spaceships and somehow neutralized our technology, nuclear warheads, and a few things like that. We do have some stuff because apparently they don't want the evil people to damage the entirety of the world or something. I don't know. I don't know. Nothing that we've been told is true. I distrust everything out there. I will probably have a very severe distrust for everything out there when I fucking die, because I realize that everything out there when we die and cross over has been the things that have been just sitting around watching while humans go through the most horrible fucking atrocities that you could ever possibly think of, conceive, or fathom. This shit has been going on for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and nothing has intervened. So they're all willful and complicit in this whole thing that's happening to humans. See, I want to go to the top and figure out what it is that's sanctioning all of this and literally kill its children in front of its face and then cut its fucking head off. That's what I want to do. That's how fucking vitriolically, violently filled I am relevant to what's created this and fucking put us in here. This has been a horrible shit show. And I cannot believe for the life of me that there is nothing good out there that has ever come to balance the scales, ever come to help us or teach us. I mean, when you really, I'm not ranting, I'm not raving. I'm just logicking and reasoning through things that I think are objectively fucking true, verifiable, quantifiable. You can't point it out in history. You can't point it the fuck out in history. The only place that we have ever seen, and the only place that we ever will see any evidence of Team Light Side, is in the human beings upon this earth, where and when they show themselves, in whatever ways that they do. So I guess that covers most of my spiel, if you will, on the engineered biological slave race. I think just with what it is that I'm presenting here, and I don't have the ability to go deep into a lot of this stuff because I can't attach things to these containers here so that I could open it up and then say, well, look at this, and this, and like show you even more. I can only just put these notes here and then discuss what it is that I know, and hopefully I don't forget something. So anyway, so let's go on to human design, controlling the human herd, born in there. Let's go on to whoops, hold on. Let's go back. Human design. Boink. There we go. So when you look at human design, as I've looked at human design, we can tell that we are definitely energy beings. Mind. This thing where we're told the all is mind, the universe is mental, is an incorporeal thing. And there's vulnerabilities that are inherent to us that we don't even know about. We're not imbued with any inherent knowledge of this. That's another thing. When you start to realize all the things that we're not imbued with any inherent knowledge of, mind, and how to get in there to clean up house, the incorporeal, the fact that mind is incorporeal, and how to protect that. You know, just all of the things that we would need some knowledge so that we would have some reason for our attention to focus on this. And the reason why we don't focus on this stuff and our attention doesn't focus on this is because we collectively do not know. So when let me just look at this here. So relevant to human design, born into a world. Okay, we'll start here. We're born into a world controlled by evil, and that ties into the engineered slave race. Born into a world controlled by evil that was here before we got here. It knew everything there is to know about humans, that humans do not know about themselves, and what put us here knew this and put you in here anyway, blank and programmable. I mean, just sit with that. Like, logic and reason that shit away. That's some very real shit. So, we were born into a realm of predation. We were born into a world where literally everything, just about, preys on and kills something else that's weaker than it, that can't defend itself from it. And to a large degree, for a lot of that predation, the things that are being preyed on are the children of the species that's being preyed upon. I mean, that's just fucking crazy. And then the older I've gotten, the more I've matured, the more I've become knowledgeable and educated myself, the more I realized what happens to the children of our species. And I started to realize that all children in this fucking reality are horribly, I mean, of every species, picked off. I mean, when you get into what happens to children in this realm, it is a fucking shit show of epic proportion. So, another thing about human design that's like a real turd in the punch bowl for us. Actually, hang on a second. Born into a world of predation where everything preys upon and kills something that's weaker than it. Many times it's the children that are preyed upon. Yep. Okay, I already went through that. Let's go back. Born into desire and attachment. Desire and attachment. So, the very thing that's going to be born from being a conscious, sentient, intelligent being that we are is desire. Yet desire, as we're told by the yogis, monks, and gurus and spiritual leaders, desire is the root of all suffering. Some say it's attachment. Some say it's desire and attachment. And when you start to really drill into that and unpack that, it doesn't show anything benevolent about designing us in a way that desire that is going to be born from the very being that we are. It's like, I'm going to make you to be something, and then the things that are going to be naturally derived out of the thing that you are going to cause you pain and suffering. Same thing with attachment. Because we were made male and female, because we have family units, because, you know, we fall in love with the opposite sex, because we love our children, because we love our friends, because we create attachments. And these attachments, and then, because we're social creatures, we require connections to each other and interaction and all that other stuff. These formulate bonds. Bonds are effectively attachments. Now, there's all kinds of ways people can color this and spin this and say, oh, there's healthy attachments and unhealthy attachments. All this fucking wordsmithery they want to put to it. But ultimately, hang on, I'm going to take a drink of something. Ultimately, the two things that are going to be born out of the core of what we are as a race of beings, intelligent, sentient, desire is going to be born from that. Born male and female, needing to procreate and raise and rear and cultivate children so that we continue to perpetuate the species. Attachment's going to come from that. Yet, desire and attachment is at the roots of all suffering. Think about that. That is like a finger in the eye and a thumb up the ass of the very species that we were engineered to fucking be. The more I dive into this, the more I look at this, the more hideous and offensive I find a substantial portion of this, because I don't see love and light anywhere. I don't see love and light in the design. I don't see love in the intention. I don't see love in any of this fucking thing. I don't see benevolence anywhere in any of this shit. I just don't see it. I've been looking. I've been searching. I've been hoping. I've been wanting. I've been looking, and I don't see it. I don't see it anywhere. And if you do, and you can't point it out to me, then you probably are just hanging on to a belief that's not actually rooted in reality, a belief that you can't quantify, either how you got it or why you believe it. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Or why you believe it. Damn, do I want to cut that burp out? I'm sitting, I have a Dr. Pepper, and, it is Dr. Pepper. Sorry. It is what it is. I might cut this out. And if I don't, you'll just have to deal with it. But this whole concept of attachment and desire being at the roots of human suffering, and I'm just starting to think about it. I'm like, conscious and intelligence begets desire, yet that's going to be the root of human suffering. And curiosity, that's going to be born from the intelligent creatures that we are, is going to beget desire. So when you start looking at this is, like I said, a thumb in the eye, a finger in the eye, and a thumb up the ass, and all of it intending the most uncomfortable, fucking unpleasant experience that you can imagine. So, designed to pair bond, and that pair bonding leads to attachment. Family units are attachment. But these things, at the roots of the very being that we were engineered to be, these motherfuckers, what assholes they fucking were, kind of fucked everything up so that the very core of what we are would be the roots of our suffering. And then when you put enmity between man and woman the way they have, it ensures that there's going to be so much strife and so much suffering and so much fucking bullshit. That's going to translate into abusing kids and not raising kids right when you put enmity between the very species that we are. So we're going to make them male and female, and then because they didn't listen to us, we're then going to curse them so that male and female don't get along and that most of their experiences are really fucking bad. And then add to that the traumas that children get that turn people narcissistic, and then you have all these fucking narcissists out there. Well, they want to get the itch scratched too, so they try to pair bond. And it's just, wow, something has really, 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 really revealed itself to absolutely, positively loathe and hate that we even exist at all. And it is so resentful of our existence, it goes out of its way in ways that you would never really think about, to pervert, to destroy, to toxify, to degrade, to induce a devolutionary thing. And there is no God that comes to help us. There are no aliens that come to help us. There are no little g gods that come to help us. There are no spirit forces that come to help us. There is not a goddamn fucking thing that comes to help the human beings in lieu of the onslaught that we have been under. This has not been a spiritual war, because a war is a battle between two parties. This has been an asymmetric onslaught. One side, Team Darkside, carte blanche, doing whatever the fuck it wants to all of us on the grander scheme of things. You know, good versus evil in the microcosm of little guys, that's really insignificant on the grand whole of things when you start looking at the control structure, and that control structure has been here since the beginning. And there is no God that has come to help us. There is no fucking benevolent beings that have come to help balance the fucking scales or throw off the oppression for us because it was so awesome that they knew we'd never be able to do it ourselves. You know, there's just nothing about what we believe that reveals itself to be true when you start to fucking put it to the test. There's just no evidence for most of the shit that we believe. So let's get back to this. Controlling the human herd, engineered biological slave race, non-physical components. And, you know, another thing about this human design is how much of this we don't even know. We don't even know, and parents don't know this. Parents don't teach this to their children. And because parents don't know this, and because it's not taught to children, virtually nobody knows this. Therefore, we're all weak in these ways. They're weaknesses and vulnerabilities that Team Darkside has known about, and they've just never told us. We never knew. You know, all these non-physical components. Let's look at the non-physical components and see what that looks like. Your mind, your emotions, your psychology, and then the things that are contained within the mind. Your perceptions, your beliefs, your ideologies, and other things. Your sexuality, your human will. You can't put your hands on any of that. Look at how important these things are. If I destroy your mind, or if your mind gets destroyed, your experience of life is going to be fucked up. And you may very well be fucked up to all people that you come in contact with because your mind is so fucked up, but you can't even put your hands on it. And how much work has people put into to strengthening their fucking mind? Your emotions. If I can emotionally train wreck you, look at what I can do to you. I mean, think about what it is that I can do to you. Emotions tie to the endocrine system. So they built into us a pharmacological factory that they knew would allow them to control us. The endocrine system is the glands in our body that dose us with the chemicals that we feel. For instance, anything from fear to love and all points in between are a byproduct, meaning the feeling of it inside of ourselves. It's a byproduct of the chemicals that are being excreted into our body from the endocrine system. You know, you got oxytocin and dopamine for like the love chemicals or orgasm chemicals and the good stuff. And you got cortisol and adrenaline and a handful of other ones for the fear, anger, rage, or whatever. All of that is because we're being dosed with chemicals by the endocrine system. And we don't do anything to understand that part about ourselves. And most of us just deal with our interactions with life. We get dosed with the chemicals. We ride the fucking emotional crazy train. Some people are more in control of themselves than others. But when you start looking at psychology, when you start getting dosed with those heavy chemicals and your psychology happens to be hammered shit because you were abused or traumatized or whatever, then the expression of human behavior becomes a real challenging thing. It's not pleasant for anybody on the receiving end of that person, and the life for that person, there's nothing too much pleasant for them. But the endocrine system gives us the powerful chemicals, the hormones, and all those other things. What did I put here for endocrine system? Hang on. Yeah. So this is what comprises the endocrine system. You've got kidneys, and that's where we get the cortisol, the adrenal glands sit on top of the kidneys, and that's where we get the cortisol. And there's just all these chemicals through this system that they put into our bodies that dose us with chemicals that, seriously, if somebody walks up to you and does something really horrible, I mean, and you're incredibly angry, you're going to be angry. The best that you're going to be able to do is control yourself in the midst of that anger. But you're going to feel that fucking anger. You're going to feel it. It's because of the chemicals that we were dosed with. So also, our emotions can be a source of manipulation. And for people who understand human psychology more than we understand ourselves, they know how to induce an emotional state. And then once they get you into that emotional state, then begin to influence you, influence your mind, influence your perception. Seriously, because your filters are down when you're in a highly emotionally charged state to a large degree. So it's a lot easier to influence you. Emotions can drive the mind into the direction that the emotions of the emotions that you're feeling. And this is where you can get caught into a fucking loop where you have a bad experience. Somebody does something horrible to you that you couldn't control. It was out of the ability for you to control it. You had a connection with them. It doses you with chemicals, or that experience causes your endocrine system to dose you with chemicals. Those chemicals cause you to feel certain things. Those chemicals can drive the way that you're thinking into the direction of the emotions. You're going to think more thoughts that cause more excretion of the endocrine system chemicals. Those chemicals are going to cause you to feel more things that are going to cause you to drive the mind. And you can get caught in this big fucking loop, this big circle of this shit feeding on itself. And then also the emotions definitely are an energy amplifier. When you're highly emotionally charged, the energy that's coming out of you is substantially stronger than when you're not. When you're highly sexually charged and just seething with sexual energy because you and your partner are like minutes away from just like tearing each other's clothes apart. You know, there's a lot of energy that is tied to this stuff. And the emotions specifically, I got a little off topic. The emotions specifically generally are amplifiers. It's literally like an amplifier, which ties into the loosh extraction in a lot of contexts, the amplifying of the emotional energy. And then that's what you're putting out into the field. And then since we don't understand how we interact with the field, then because you're emoting in a specific way and the energy is amplified because you're in a highly emotionally charged state, then the universe, the construct, this reality, the matrix, whatever, is going to respond to you in some way that we don't really have a beat on how to identify how it responds and when it responds. But there's a lot of, well, there's some evidence that it works this way, and you have to experience it for yourself to kind of start to become more aware. So let's look back at non-physical components: mind, emotions, psychology, sexuality. I mean, just think of what our sexuality is. And there's so much that people don't even understand relevant to our sexuality. They really don't. It's something that is far more important than most people even think about. The sexual energy is the creative generative force within humans. And it's the power that we have to create life. And when you're not using that sexual energy, if we knew what it truly was, if we actually knew and understood how to harness and channel that sexual or creative force within us when we're not having children, meaning we're not engaged in sex, we're not thinking about having children, but this energy is still within us, how to actually utilize it for creation in some other way. We don't have that inherent knowledge. Apparently, at one point, the gods were down here teaching some of this stuff to us, but something decided to remove that knowledge from us and then take advantage of the ignorance that we were, and nothing came back to help us out and try and, balance the scales with the information that we would need to make better choices because, well, we're ignorant and the evil is not, and it's capitalizing on all of our ignorances. It's driving us to do things in a lot of cases based off of our ignorance that we wouldn't have otherwise done if we simply had the fucking knowledge. So, yeah, sexuality, creative generative force, creative generative energy, half the power of a god to create life. And it's kind of strange, but you have that power in your pants. Isn't that weird? You have half the power of a god in your pants. Anyway, so more non-physical components. Human will. I mean, think about what human will is and what it implies. With human will, that's where you're going to take your action. With human will, or you make a choice to use your will, or from a place, or from the will, you make a choice to take an action where you're in some state of creation of something, making, designing, building, painting, whatever it is that is the creation. We don't understand how our will actually works. And what did I put here? Thought begets desire. Desire begets intention. Intention begets will. Will begets action. And action begets the experience that, from some context, we believe that we incarnate to have a physical 3D experience because we weren't physical and we were not able to feel things, taste things. You can't have sex. You can't smell anything. So we came here to have experience. And the culmination of, from the beginning, thought begets desire, desire begets intention, intention begets will begets action, and action begets the actual experience in whatever way that experience will unfold for you. These are things that most humans don't really understand because we don't understand enough about ourselves and the subcomponents in us and the ways that they drive us. This is a real problem. This is a real problem. So spirituality. Focus on our non-physical self. Oh, we will tap into that spiritual stuff through the focus on our non-physical self, through that inward journey. But since we don't have any instructions, we don't have a user's manual, we're not given the directions, most people don't know. Within the spiritual community, if you will, within the information that's available, there's so many half-truths out there. There's so many liars, deceivers, charlatans, people who are just rooted in ego, playing a part. Spirituality has been corporatized in a lot of ways, and it's now profitable to be some spiritual, to be a spiritualist, to be a spiritual guru, to be a spiritual healer, to be a spiritual. It's become profitable, and I don't think there was ever the intention for there to be ever money made off this type of thing. But people lack morals, people lack integrity, people lack, a character that has substance to it. And then within spirituality, at least in this reality, it's littered with deception. Like I said, deception, half-truths, liars, deceivers, charlatans. It's just, so these are, when you start looking at what is mind, how does that affect and impact us? What are the emotions? How do they affect and impact us? What can be done to us by evil people that understands the things about mind and emotion and psychology and our sexuality? Think about it. And if they can fucking hammer your mind, your emotions, your psychology, get all of that all fucked up, that can have a profound impact on your human will to take action, to do anything, to create, to live, to work, anything. Human will. It's extremely important. Again, non-physical. Can't put your hands on any of it. Your memories are another non-physical component. Your knowledge base and the amount of knowledge that you have within your being is, well, it's going to be twofold. Some of it's going to be shit that they put in your head, and some of it's going to be stuff that you actually had to work for. Your bullshit meter is going to be predicated on your knowledge base. The more knowledge you have, the easier it's going to be to decipher bullshit. The more knowledge that you have, the more finely tuned your bullshit meter is going to be. And the more it will enhance your conscious filters because of your base of knowledge that you've actually worked for. So your base of knowledge resides within the conscious mind. It obviously ties to your bullshit meter. It's obviously a non-physical component, and it's not really a thing, but it is a thing. It's your base of knowledge. It's your foundation. So knowledge born from suffering can be where you get your knowledge base. Knowledge born from suffering. Knowledge obtained through hard work. Hard work, sacrifice of time, socializing time, activities time, personal activities, entertainment time, and make personal sacrifices to actually read books, listen to lectures, and feed your mind with knowledge in areas of this reality that they haven't taught you. You have to do that for yourself. What do I got here? Knowledge is generally obtained by those that wanted it. Those that put in the time to learn and come to know. There are certain rules to this reality, and that's probably why you can't just walk up to somebody and tell them the truth that you've spent 10, 15, 20 years coming to know. Because they haven't put in that time to come to know everything else that was required to know that led you to that ultimate truth. Telling them that ultimate truth will mean nothing to them because they lack all the foundational knowledge and understandings that you obtained to get you to the point where you now know that truth. That's just pretty much how this works. So let's look at what I got here. So conscious filters, both non-physical components, conscious mind. Your knowledge base is generally going to be within your conscious mind. However, I suppose some of it could bleed into your subconscious mind when you make something like mechanical. You know, when you make something a part of you because you've done it so many times, practiced it, studied it, or whatever. But anyway, so mind, body, spirit, and soul, non-physical components of humans. When you look at that, mind, body, and spirit, and soul, 3 of the 4 of those you can't touch. Huh. Doesn't it put a different perspective? Is it putting a bit of a different perspective on the whole concept of the importance of doing work on the non-physical aspects of us? If 3 of the 4 things that we reference to reference a human being are non-physical. Mind, spirit, soul, all non-physical. The body is the one thing, and we're going to spend so much time on the abs, the buns, the pecs for superficial, narcissistic reasons of vanity and stuff like that, rather than learning about the mind and the labyrinth contained within, connecting spiritually to whatever. Well, I don't think there's much out there to connect with spiritually. I suppose it's more spiritually connecting, having a connection with yourself, your higher self, or something like that. And soul, I'm on the fence about this whole soul thing. I really am. But anyway, I've talked about that in other videos that I've done. So, non-physical components. Another components, maybe these are subcomponents of the human being, are these various virtues. I mean, think about the virtue of compassion. Can be used against you when naive. Oh, yeah, if you're a compassionate person and you're naive, there are evil, wicked motherfuckers that can take advantage of that shit and basically work you. It really is a damn shame. But compassion, discernment, empathy, fortitude, grit, sticking to it, intuition, morality, prudence, temperance. These are all things that take years to work on, years to master in some cases. Just like a lot of this non-physical stuff takes years and years and years to work on this stuff, to master this stuff. And that's assuming we knew. But when you don't even know about these things, I mean, think about it. And we were not imbued with an inherent level of knowledge of this stuff that makes it so that we're all at least aware of it. I'm telling you, very, very insidious intentions in the design that all tie to, we were not benevolently created by a benevolent deity in the sky. We were engineered to be a slave race by a bunch of asshole fuck stains that did not give a flying fuck about what they were creating because they were using us to get what they wanted. And then look at the condition that they left us in, look at who they left us with, and it's been a shit show ever since. So let's go into human design. Or this is back to that. So we just went through what? Non-physical components. You know what? There's more to these non-physical components. The non-physical bodies. The astral body. The emotional body. The energy body. The etheric body. The mental body. Wow. These are all things that require knowledge, awareness, and in some cases, work to do anything with. You gotta take the time to learn how to get into the astral realm. You gotta understand what your astral body is and how to protect it. Whoops. Your emotional body and the ways in which that can get twisted up. Ah, this figures. This figures. Anyway. Your mental body. I mean, when you start realizing these are all components of our being that can be attacked, can be manipulated, influenced, or damaged. And we don't have any inherent knowledge of this, and we don't have any inherent knowledge of how to fix this. Think about that. Energetic components. Bioelectric energy, mental energy, emotional energy, sexual energy, the ki energy within the human, the chakral energy, energy centers within us that things can hook into, parasites can hook into. I felt something pulling from my heart chakra a couple of times while I was in the dark night of the soul. That was some crazy ass shit. The energy coming out of the head, the energy coming out of the heart, and then the toroidal field around the human body. Like, there's a lot to understand there. There's a lot to do to protect these various aspects and components of us. There's a lot there that we could do to learn about the chakral energy, to protect it or to strengthen it, to learn about the chi or ki energy and tap into it and be able to utilize it. But most of us don't know shit about shit. Now, if I really wanted to go deep, you know, these would be containers that right now the best I could do is just put a little link right there, and it'll take you to a picture. The chi or ki takes you to a video that shows you a guy actually doing some interesting shit with his ki energy. But, you know, if I've had stuff I wanted to drill into relevant to emotional energy, how it affects the human, you know, I could have PDFs, text files, Word documents, videos, or all that stuff, and I could store it in this container. But you have to pay for it. So if anybody wanted to make a donation that made a contribution to helping me to get this license so that I could do better presentations, well, donations, the ability to make donations are in my description box. And for what it's worth, asking for donations for stuff like this, asking for donations because you're a homeless guy and you need help, that's not grifting. When somebody spends the amount of time, energy, effort, has suffered to the degree that I have to learn these things, you know, this is all my time. My time is worth something. And if you sit in front of what it is that I put out, apparently it has some value to you. So asking for money or donations, it's not grifting. There's no deception here. There's no nothing. It's basically everything requires money. And, you know, there's a lot of people out there that say, hey, you know, continue to support me or I won't be able to keep doing this. People need money for the time that they spend doing what it is that they do to help teach, educate, enlighten, or whatever you would classify it as, others. And I spend a substantial amount of my time doing this, as evidenced by, what is there, 150 some odd videos on my channels in the last 2.5 to 3 months that it's been online. I mean, some of them, yes, have come from my other channel, but not most of them haven't. So anyway, when you start looking into what's here, I mean, to explain to people about their sexual energy and what it is, how powerful it is, I mean, it takes a lot more than just pointing this out. And if I could actually add the stuff that I have to this that comprises, you know, enough information to do a presentation on, when you start looking at everything that's here, boy, oh boy, I could do 1-hour presentations on an awful lot of this stuff and maybe get just below the surface on it and not necessarily deep dives. There's a lot of stuff. So, energy beings, let's look at this a little deeper. Human design, wait a second. That's the one that I wanted. Human design, born in the world. Let's look at, we did non-physical components, engineered biological slaves. So, mind is incorporeal. Let's go to mind. I'm going to, bear with me one second. I'm going to take a hit off my vape before we go into this. I can't pause this, so. You got me doing a little drinking of soda, vaping, a little burping. It is what it is. It's real life. So, within the mind, conscious mind, ego mind, subconscious mind, and then there's that thing, the all is mind, the universe is mental. That means, well, it's alluding to and pointing to the importance of the mind of the human being. That is why the mind has been the prize. Most specifically, the subconscious mind has been the prize. Because that's why they use symbology. That's why they use symbolism. That's why they use sigils. That's why they use subliminal programming. Because they're trying to deceptively get past your conscious filters. And even if you don't have conscious filters, they're trying to deceptively influence, impress upon, communicate with your subconscious mind, while your 5% of your conscious mind doesn't pick up on it, isn't aware of it, has no knowledge of this. Meanwhile, they've got access to the back door of you, putting into your head what they want into your head, and you don't know why they're doing it, but they are. So, conscious mind. What's within the conscious mind? Thoughts, beliefs, your intellect, your perceptions, reason, imagination, memories, awareness, self-awareness. Excuse me. All of this stuff, you can't put your hands on any of it. Very legitimate components of the human being. Imagine to yourself, to the degree that any of this stuff gets twisted up into a pretzel through damage, poisoning the mind with wrong information, traumas, what that's going to do to the human being's experience or expression of life. So what else is contained within the conscious mind? This little 5%, the ego. That part of your mind ties to your conscious mind, because you have to be, well, this egoic part of people where they're like, I'm so great, I'm so wonderful, look at me, I'm blah, blah, blah. Fucking people with tremendous inflated egos. Your emotions can be tied to things that are thoughts in your conscious mind, desire that comes forth from your conscious mind. Your ideas are in your conscious mind. Your knowledge base that you've worked for is in your conscious mind. Your opinions are in your conscious mind. And aspects of your personality are sourced from your conscious mind. And that's just what I could come up with. That's an awful lot of stuff contained in this paltry 5% that we're told is conscious mind. Huh. Interesting, isn't it? So let's go back to mind. Let's go to subconscious mind. What's within there? Also, memories stored within the subconscious mind. Your memory storage within the subconscious mind ties to thought generation within the conscious mind. Autopilot resides within your subconscious mind. You ever been driving and you couldn't remember the last 10 minutes of the trip because you were on autopilot? That's because this stuff is mechanical for you. Even driving safely when you're not consciously paying attention the way we all say you should, is because it's been mechanically ingrained into you by doing it so many times. It's now part of your subconscious autopilot mechanism. Our baggage, our traumas, our shames, our guilts, our emotional traumas, and ancestral memories, ancestral traumas, any ancestral baggage, any of that stuff, any of the baggage, that's all stored in the subconscious mind. Emotions can be sourced from the subconscious mind, and those emotions can tie to your shadow self, or maybe I was doing this because your shadow self ties to your baggage and to a lot of emotions that tie to your baggage, and your shadow self is generally pretty upset, pretty angry, pretty rageful sometimes. And then within the subconscious mind is also your conscious mind. I'm sorry, the unconscious mind, where, the thing that makes you breathe when you're asleep, the thing that makes your heart beat and all that stuff. And we don't necessarily want to get in there. Not that I can see. But we would want to get into the subconscious mind because it's this crazy thing called baggage that we have. And the ancestral memories, just our old memories of traumas from childhood, genetic memories, past life memories, childhood traumas, unresolved adult traumas, the shadow aspect of ourselves. That's all our baggage. Well, there's an awful lot going on right there, isn't there? And that's all tied to the baggage that generally resides within the subconscious mind. The shadow resides in the subconscious mind. Look at how important all this stuff is. And everything that I'm talking about here, everything is non-physical. You can't put your hands on it. Your beliefs, well, beliefs tied to your subconscious mind. Let's look at what I got here for beliefs. Beliefs by the ego are generally heavily protected and defended, even if we don't actually realize that our beliefs are wrong. Beliefs can be false. Beliefs can translate into ideologies. And when you look at ideologies, these are the drivers, or can be drivers of the human ass. Men will kill for their ideological beliefs, their political and religious ideologies. They've been doing it throughout history. Beliefs keep people confined to a box. That's for damn sure. And the word lie is nestled right in the middle of beliefs. And this is another reason why they try to get this shit into our subconscious mind, because they know we don't have direct access to get in there, and that there's lies in the beliefs that we have. How much time, effort, and energy does it take to pull out the stuff that's in the subconscious mind, then analyze it for the lies that are contained within, because you know that the people that gave it to you wanted to somehow deceive you. It's crazy. Literally, when you look at it etymologically, I don't think there's a coincidence that the word lie is nestled right in the middle of beliefs. It's like it's telling you that there can and likely are lies in what you believe. Until you get to a place in life where you're at a level of knowledge, awareness, and consciousness to actually start to do the analyzation of yourself and your beliefs and where you got them and how rooted in reality they actually are, you're going to stay bound to your beliefs. You're going to hang on to those beliefs, likely with a white-knuckle death grip. Those beliefs are going to be protected by your pride, by your ego, by your skepticism, by your cynicism, by your own ignorance. That's just the way we were made. I don't understand why. Well, yeah, I guess I do. Because they wanted to control us. Because we were designed to be slaves. How do I get back? There we go. So let's get back to, also relevant to the mind. The mind can be fractured or broken. And when you think about that, childhood abuse and childhood neglect damages, breaks, or fractures the mind to the point where a child that wasn't born a narcissist now becomes a narcissist. They're on the cluster B spectrum. They're effectively lost to humanity, and they're going to do nothing but create harm, loss, and damage to most of the people that they interact with. Narcissists, sociopaths, and even psychopaths, secondary psychopaths can be made from just such horribly abusive traumas when they're children. It can turn them into the secondary psychopath. But that is a way in which the mind can be fractured or broken. And when you think about it, the government and the think tanks that have funded the endeavors for the government to do MK Ultra, Project Monarch, satanic ritual abuse and the ways that government's involved in that, the Illuminati type things and the ways that those people do what they do. The government has spent an awful lot of time figuring out how to fracture and break the mind so that they could then program it up with whatever they wanted and then button that up and then button you all back up and then set that thing up so that it can be called forth with a trigger so that it'll have no memories of what it is that you do. It'll be programmed up with what it is they want you, that part of your psyche or your conscience to do. And then, no, that's just some crazy shit that they've done this. I mean, it ties into Manchurian candidates. It ties into Manchurian candidates where what I said is done to them. Their minds are split and fractured through severe trauma. Generally, they're programmed up with how to kill, how to fight, how to steal, how to cheat, how to lie, how to do whatever they need to do to pull off whatever they need to pull off. Then that part of their psyche is buttoned up, closed up, and it's set with a trigger, a tone, a word, a thing. They go and do what they're supposed to do, and then when it's all over, they have no memory of it. And this, when you start thinking about the think tanks out there that fund this shit, our small hat friends that fund the think tanks and fund all these endeavors, it's absolutely sickening. So how do I get back? Hang on a second. Mind, non-physical components. Let's go back to human design. Okay, engineer. We went over briefly the biological slave race. We went over the non-physical components. We went over mind briefly. We went over energy beings. Let me double check this. Oh, another thing about the energy beings thing. We are like transceivers. We emit energy and signal, and we receive it. And we're not even consciously aware that that is happening, because we weren't engineered with any senses to perceive the incorporeal. We also weren't engineered to sense or perceive in the ways that energy. Like, what if I walked up to you with a smile on my face, dressed nice and debonair, saying all the right stuff, but energetically, I had an intention to harm you. I was just doing all that suave stuff with the right sweet words and smelling good and all that other stuff as a means to deceive you. If you had the ability to read my energy, to pick up on my energy, to sense my energy, and most people don't, you'd sense a red flag and perhaps steer clear. But we don't necessarily have by default. And for those people who do pick up on that, it's something that you tapped into. You don't even know how you tapped into it. It was already turned on in you, and then you learned how to listen to it over time. But it's not a very common thing. And the fact that transceivers, it sends and receives. We're receiving and putting out, and we don't even understand the gravity of what we're putting out, and we don't understand the gravity of what we're receiving. And that, think about it. The mind, that Father Ripperger guy, Ripperger, Ripperger, that Father Ripperger guy says that demons can molest your mind, and your mind is a non-physical thing. Wow. What an interesting, and you'd never know it. You'll just suffer the effects. You'll just suffer the effects. So, energy beings and transceivers. So, okay, wait a second. Let's go back here. So, controlling the human herd. I think I went into that briefly in the last one, but let's go into this a little more. So, this is how they control the human herd. They use money, religion, television, the school systems, Hollywood, politics, magazines, music industry, newspapers, pop culture, pornography, social media, and that's just what I could think of off the top. And when you start drilling into money and how that does what it does, I'll just kind of show you. Money creates debt slavery, and it's the ultimate corrupter of man. And when you start looking at what men will do for money, men will kill for money, and what single group has controlled the money since the days of the money changers. There's a lot to think about relevant to these things. When you look at, for instance, pop culture ties to Hollywood. All that stuff is overtly satanic. Pop culture gets your external focus and attention. Music industry is part of pop culture. All of the perversions and toxic influences that get imposed upon the developing minds of children that are exposed to pop culture. The way that pop culture tends to socially engineer and or propagandize people. And there's influence through social media as well. When you start looking at all the ways in which this stuff connects, all overtly satanic. The music industry, all of this stuff is controlled by Jews. That's just an objective fact. It's not hate speech. It's just objectively true that religion, the Abrahamic religions, Abraham was a Jew, and he gave us Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. And they're all Saturnian at their base. They're all tied to the cube symbology, and all that other stuff. They created the television. They created Hollywood. They've embedded themselves in all the politics, and I bet you a lot about our politics are a Jewish creation. They created all this pop culture. It's all theirs. It's all theirs from their Hollywood and their music industry. They created pornography. This is all them. Country music, hip hop music, death metal music, pop music, rock and roll, all this stuff embedded with all kinds of poisons designed to influence our fucking minds. Seriously. Anyway, how do I get back? Bear with me 1 second. Hang on. Well, I think I got myself into a hole that I'm not going to be able to get out of with this. I didn't give myself a link to get out. Did I give myself a link to get out? Controlling the human. There it is. There it is. There it is. Okay. So, what else controls the human herd? Look at how tied and attached to their cell phones people are. This is predominantly Z-Genners and I'd say half the millennials. The Internet of Things and the way that the Internet is encroaching into our lives so that it can, the people that use the Internet can use it to spy on us in our homes with the Internet of Things, track our patterns in our homes, what we use, how we use it, when we use it, figure out our patterns, our habits. Video games are another thing that's controlling the human herd, influencing the human mind, dominating human attention. So, perversions and toxic influences of the developing human minds. So, all of these things are perversions and toxic influence of developing minds throughout our society. And all of this is controlled by the enemy of mankind, basically. That's what these Jews are. They're the enemy of mankind. There's no two ways about it. They're the enemy of mankind. So social engineering and propaganda machine, what that's been doing is breaking up the family unit. Feminism would be a perfect example of that. Caustic and subversive influence. And through social engineering and the propaganda machine, it's one of the ways in which they're able to control the human herd. Through social engineering and the propaganda machine, they've been able to drive men to fight wars. I mean, if you look at the stuff for World War II, if you look at the stuff for the Korean War, if you look at the stuff for the Vietnam War, for the ways in which they propagandized the minds of men, rah, 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 America, 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 we got to go fight these, this is all through social engineering and what I refer to as the propaganda machine, but that comes through all of these things. And then you got, look at that, Tavistock, Frankfurt Institute. Hang on a second. And those tie to think tanks and NGOs. Tavistock, Frankfurt, the Brookings Institute. Who controls all this stuff? Who controls all of the think tanks? Who influences all of these poisons? And when you start thinking about it, it's these billionaires, it's these elites, it's these Jews, it's these people at the top that think because they have money that they have the right to do all this stuff to affect all of the rest of us. It's fucking sickening, man. Perversions and toxic influence of developing minds. Yeah, all of this stuff ties to that. So let's go back to think tanks. And when you look into, for instance, just these three, what the Tavistock Institute has been responsible for, what the Frankfurt Institute has been responsible for, what the Brookings Institute has been responsible for from a social engineering perspective. See, this is what social engineering is. It's where you get all these people that are part of these think tanks that are figuring out how to inject what they want into the minds of society so that their agendas will continue to move forward, because they have agendas for all the rest of us that you're not aware of. When the book Propaganda, if you've ever read at least the first page or two, Edward Bernays is telling you that your tastes are formed, your ideals and ideas are formed from men you've never met, from people you will never meet. Well, it's kind of ambiguous there when he says it, but I know what he's referring to. These are where these people work. These are this is what these institutions are. The men he's referring to that you will never meet, they work for the Tavistock Institute. They work for the Frankfurt School. They work for the Brookings Institute. All of these NGOs. Yet through these NGOs, they have the ability to get their shit onto television, and our government doesn't do anything to protect us, but not that it was ever, it was supposed to in theory, but obviously not by design. So there's so much to explain to people. There's just so much to explain to people that are just waking up. I mean, think about what you can tell people about what money is, who controls it, how it corrupts the minds and the humans. Men will kill for it, men will rob, steal, and all this other stuff for it. What religion is, what it's done, how it's been given to us, what the priest class have always been, the way in which they've lied straight to our faces, program our minds, and these people should be, just like, what was it, Percy Shelley? Was it him that said it? That man won't know peace until the last priest is strangled with the entrails of the last monarch, or something like that. Yeah, that's how toxic religion has been. Television, all bad. School systems, dumbing us down, poisoning our minds. Hollywood, all bad. Politics, all bad. This is one of the biggest divisive mechanisms ever given to us, other than religion. Magazines are just written by people who want to influence your mind. Very rarely do we get truth in magazines, because they're all of these magazines have been bought up by the companies that are owned by Jews and people in these that have this influence, or they want to have this influence. The music industry is all poison. Newspapers have been, once upon a time, they used to be good. Nowadays, it's all shit. It's all just mainstream media bullshit. Toxic, I mean, everything that's here, it's all toxic. It's all toxic. It's all poison. It's all controlled by Jews. It's all designed and influenced to influence your mind, your beliefs, your perception, your ideologies, what you think of yourself, your place in this life, your place in reality, all of it. Think about it. Perversions and toxins, developing influencing my same stuff. Social engineering, we've gone through that. You know, some of this stuff is worthy of a real deep dive to really give people deep understandings. Think about it. Your external focus and attention from all the non-physical stuff that I've been showing you is important. They have built all of this, or control all of this, to grab your external focus and grab your attention. Think about it. This is a way they can keep you from knowing about yourself. This is a way they can keep you entertained, mesmerized, enchanted, and all those other things with all of their flashing lights and shiny objects and with all that pornography out there, and hypersexualization. They put titties everywhere, scantily clad women and scantily clad men, to keep our focus external, keep our attention focused in the external 3D world that you can tell is full of lies, deception, deceit, trickery, manipulation, and all those other sorts of things. So, quick rundown, quick run through here, just to kind of give you guys a sense of what's contained within here. So we went over briefly controlling the human herd. We went over non-physical components, did we? Yep. Okay, we went over engineered biological slave race. This is all the reasons that I've put here. And then we went into what? Human design. Human design. We went into energy beings. We went into mind. We've gone into biological slave race, non-physical components, controlling the human herd, engineered slave race. Let's see what I've got here. Junk DNA, zero senses, four absolutes. I think I went over all this stuff. Born blank and programmable, short lifespans, little to no instinct or instinctual understanding, inward journey firewalled off. Yeah, I think I went through that one. So I think I've gone through at a high level all of this stuff, just to kind of give you guys a bit of a sense of what it is that I've been trying to do, putting together my thoughts relevant to this know thyself stuff. So, I mean, think about it. Just look at this with regards to know thyself. How much of this stuff do you know? How much of this stuff do you know and have a masterful grasp of? How much of this stuff do you know and have a masterful grasp of? What do you know? I mean, how much work have you done on your beliefs? Are you led by your beliefs? Let me go back. I keep doing this. Hold on a second. Conscious mind, non-physical components. There we go. Human design. Anyway, so there's a lot here. And honestly, what I should do is probably go into one of these and say energy beings, and then do an entire hour or two video going much deeper into bioelectric, chakral, chi and ki, emotional energy, and provide insights and information relevant to all of this stuff so that it's a little bit more comprehensive, if you will, and covers a lot more, gives people more information that they can add to their own foundation of information. Also, non-physical senses. Let's look at that one. We don't have the senses to perceive anything from ghosts to gods. Hard to sense somebody else's energy, intention. Higher self is just a concept. There's no proof of it. We don't have any senses to perceive what we call higher self. Humans aren't imbued with any inherent knowledge of energy, frequency, or vibration. Yet we're put into a reality that based on that. We're put into a reality that's based on that. And most of us won't even come to know this and align with this until we're much older, later in life. Our whole lives effectively become wasted in the ignorance our engineers intended for us. So no inherent knowledge of any aspect of the spiritual, incorporeal realms. What the fuck is that? Why would you do that to us? Psychopathy. That's why. Malignant demons engineering us, and nothing has come to help us. Nothing. We could all die, and nothing out there in the spiritual realms cares. That is fucking brutal truth. That is a brutal fucking truth. And then what's with the source thing? What's with this source thing? And this is tying into zero senses to perceive incorporeal. What's with this source thing? Why go back to source? Why? Source what? Why would we want to find our way back to what put us here? People are too stupid to realize that they've been imprisoned here and cut off. Most people's spiritual experiences are nothing more than their own inflated egos, and they're too stupid to know or recognize this, and they're deluding themselves and everyone else around them. And see, unfortunately, since I can't add information, I just have to make these really long comments relevant to things that come to mind, relevant to these components and subcomponents. Anyway, there's a lot to get into, and honestly, I think we're at a point in time where it doesn't matter anymore. I really don't think it matters anymore. Things are on the verge of changing in this reality in ways that I don't think most humans are prepared for, to be honest with you. Let's go back to the beginning here. Yep. So, this is just some of the stuff that encompasses know thyself. And again, much of what I've showed here to really impress upon the mind and the psyche how important know thyself is. I could go into deeper dives relevant to mind, human design, the ways in which they're controlling the human herd, and really delve into the zero senses into perceiving the incorporeal realm and the implications there, in lieu of people's belief that there's some benevolent deity in the sky that just loves us and, wants us to find our way back to its bosom and all that other ridiculous shit. Just like, why? So anyway, this is a little bit more than the last one that I did, just to kind of show you guys that, there's a lot rattling around in my head. The biggest problem for me is how to get it all out, how to compartmentalize it in the right containers and make sure all the information's there. With this fully functional, it would be a lot easier, because I have a lot of information that I've taken in over the years that I've even kept, so I could gather it and collect it and put it in these containers. And then as I go and explain that the non-physical components of us are very important, for all of the subcomponents that I have here, I could have an awful lot of data. But since I can't add the data, I can't add any of the thing. I'm telling you, I could make this an awful lot more comprehensive if I had the full version of this software. And, well, you'll just have to believe me, because I know what this software is capable of. Anyway, yeah, it's about $220, $230 for the full license version of this. So anyway, I'm going to basically call this good for now. Just a little bit more of a skim of the surface of, what's in my mind and why I've been railing on about the know thyself stuff the way that I have, because I think it's as important, potentially even more important, to know all of this stuff. Because if any of this stuff gets manipulated, twisted up, damaged, or any of those other things, our experience of life is going to be vastly different. So, if there's any of you that think the work that I do on this channel is worthy of a tip, donation, or a gift, I'm currently homeless living in my truck, and I could certainly use it. I could certainly use any of the donations anybody would be willing to make. I've put a lot of effort into trying to teach people and share this information with people, and I've been doing the vast majority of it from the back of my truck in a hotel room, all of it while I've been homeless. So yeah, if you feel like what it is that I do here, the efforts that I put forth, doing these monologues, doing these philosophical monologues, doing videos like this one that I'm doing right now, if you think it's worthy of a tip, donation, or a gift, yeah, I've got under $100 to my name, and it would help me tremendously. So no, I'm not grifting. I'm asking those people who think that it's worthy of a tip, donation, or a gift to think about making a contribution. If you don't, then that's fine too. I guess that's it. Take it easy, everybody.